Welcome back to Sunrise Daily. Well, today we'll start off continuing where we left off, talking about public sector corruption. Where do we go from it? How do we sort some of these challenges out, especially when you see certain persons who are with some of these institutions being found wanting? Well, Mr. Olanrewaju Suraj joins us today. He's a Public Affairs Analyst as well as the Chairman, Human and Environmental Development Agenda. Thank you for coming on today.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Well, perhaps once you wonder, I mean, much as you will always hear that, look, the corruption index, either from this agency or that one, about this country seems to, I mean, they have all these reports, publications every now and then. Is there any one of them that we could look to and say, okay, so far, perhaps in this respect, we seem to be improving, having been mindful of where we're coming from, or is it all still looking gloom?
I think I will start by saying with the judiciary, there's the potential for a change in terms of what we've been seeing with the new Chief Justice of Nigeria, Aloma Mukhtar, in terms of welcoming ideas and then also speaking out loudly with regards to corruption in the judicial system. And I think that is one of the areas where we have a huge challenge. We can also talk about the EFCC as well. I mean, borrowing from the immediate past of the former chairman and the whole internal challenges with the commission, and also the wrist slap that you get with corrupt politically exposed persons. So I think with those two institutions, we can still say to a very large extent that we can see a measure of improvement.
But some just find it a little different. I mean, what is the change in the EFCC? Isn't it the same old thing? Have you had any corruption of those initially politically exposed?
I think one of the things that we need to understand how many of these things actually operates and works. The politically exposed persons actually, and many of them involved in corrupt practices, are becoming smarter than they used to be before. And you have
living up to its billing.
No, actually, quite a number of them are becoming smarter. I would say one. Two is also the challenge of the political will on the part of the leadership. You will also remember that the Attorney General currently would have to supervise and approve even cases that needs to go to court.
It's always been like that.
No, it's not always been like that. This just happened about 2 years ago. It happened with the current Attorney General, where they came with the gazette that said,
Mike Andoka at the time?
No. It wasn't. With the days of Ribadu and the rest, it wasn't like that. It was now, before the current leadership, with the former EFCC chairman, that it was actually gazetted.
I recall then we had the EFCC chairman, then the former EFCC chairman. They all denied having such a gazette from the Ministry of...
Well, unfortunately, how I wish we're going to discuss it, I would have brought a copy of that, because I also have a copy of that. It's an official gazette that says corruption cases.
That's from the Office of the Attorney General.
Office of the Attorney General. They have to get the approval from the Office of the Attorney General. I mean, you will have to understand that they report to the Ministry of Justice. That is their supervising ministry. And they won't probably want to officially or publicly expose the persons of the Attorney General in terms of coming out. Because the whole world criticized that gazette, knowing fully well that that is actually going to undermine the fight against corruption in the country. And that is the huge challenge. So between the EFCC, I mean, you won't even talk about ICPC when they were talking about the merger. For me, I think the best merger that Nigeria can do for now between the institutions is to merge ICPC with the National Orientation Agency.
Not EFCC.
Not EFCC, because the only thing you see ICPC doing...
EFCC and ICPC?
No, I am not suggesting that. I said the best is for them to do ICPC and National Orientation Agency.
Why?
The only thing ICPC does now is just orientation around campaigns, meeting with governors, and then also organizing what they call in terms of deterrence. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, this is not the situation. And they're supposed to be the one most concerned with the issue of corruption in terms of public politically exposed persons.
By way of orientation?
Not by orientation, by deterrence. That is one. That is supposed to be a departmental thing.
For National Orientation Agency?
But that is what the National Orientation Agency is supposed to be doing. But for the ICPC, what it does is orientation for deterrence, and you have on daily basis cases of reported corruption.
When you say
cases
suppose, are
and
you...
it's almost on the same basis.
Sorry to butt in there. When you say suppose, are you saying they haven't been doing that?
They have not. I mean, you would ask, how many prosecutions do you even hear? How many? I mean, EFCC, we've said, don't do, I mean, the prosecution of people on the pages of newspaper, but you can't help that. I mean, the media, you would have to feast on that. Once there are cases that you can say, how many of cases do you have with ICPC? The latest I heard was just about a former local government chairman that is being charged to call for about 30 million. And you want to ask yourself, are those the corrupt cases that you have? That is where you can see cases where the police officer who was recently caught on camera, I mean, unfortunately, he was summarily dismissed by the IG. That is very unfortunate.
Sorry, before you go to this one,
right?
I mean, do you have a list or knowledge of any list of how many cases EFCC recently has prosecuted successfully?
Unfortunately, that is the challenge. In terms of the successful prosecution, I think they were talking about, I think recently what I heard was about 15 cases successfully prosecuted.
With this current EFCC?
Yes, with this current. And you have over 50 of the cases in court. Some of them since 2007, since 2008. And you don't help. That is one of the challenges with the judicial system.
The one that cast them into the spotlight, unfortunately, the bad light, was the one that they got a slap on the wrist about the 750. Which in Abuja.
Okay.
750,000.
750,000 naira.
Okay.
Which was paid in the premises and he walked away.
Oh, yeah, that is the pension scam thing.
That's right.
That's that, yeah.
And as a matter of fact, it was some lawyers, who came here, seemed to have picked hold with they put it, quote unquote, I don't know, from want of words, ineptitude of the commission, because they felt they could have charged the gentleman on a different note. So when they now discovered that, you charged him on this, he got away, you brought him back for not properly declaring certain things, which you had in your kitty a long time ago, you didn't charge him based on that, and people said, look, this is all
No, I think that is going to be actually unfair to the EFCC, in fairness. I mean, this is almost the same thing we have with Jabila and Al-Mustafa and the rest of them.
How?
This was a guy who had volunteered to serve as a prosecution witness for EFCC. And that was why, be mindful, that Justice Talba, who was in charge of the case, was actually penalized for that decision. The fact of the matter was, the man agreed to plead guilty. And part of the process of that is to charge him with the list of the offenses. And with that, the minimum he was probably supposed to get was about 1 year or 2 years. And with that, he would serve as prosecution witness to assist.
Kind of crime.
No. One thing is, you probably want to go the whole hog of prosecution, and then you go for the next 5 years. He would continue enjoying his loot, like many of them are doing. And you have them in the national.
But they opposed the plea bargaining.
All right.
They felt,
yeah,
because the maximum sentence you can get on that, which you say is 2 years.
Right.
And if you enter a plea bargaining, he can't get maximum sentence anymore.
Yeah, no,
Upon the principle of plea bargaining, you can't.
No,
and so you get less than 2 years.
The least offense is what they charge him with, and that is what brought about the issue of the 2 years. And that was what, I mean, for the judge to have been sanctioned, for goodness sake, it is basically to show you that that sanction. No, yeah, that is because it wasn't even the judiciary that actually sanctioned him. Okay. That was the NJC. And they reviewed, yeah.
In addition to this one, which still on this, of course, public sector corruption.